News reporting about a recent meeting of business leaders and Governor Roy Cooper notes that the governor said that he didn't hear any of those business leaders ask for a lower corporate tax rate, something that legislative Republicans had included in their 2019 budget. But Jon Sanders, who is the Locke Foundation's Director of Regulatory Studies, says that there could be a reason that those corporate executives weren't asking for a tax cut. Jon joins us now to talk about that. Welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Donna.
What caught your eye about the reporting on this story? Because instantly you thought, hey, something's amiss here.
Well, I was reading down the names of the executives there, the corporations that were listed, and I knew that they were all corporations that were getting huge grants from the state of North Carolina from Cooper's administration.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, they were getting corporate incentives grants. So I went through the numbers. Honeywell was listed. They got $42.3 million approved in December of 2018. Avid Exchange got $19.6 million approved also in December of 2018. Allstate got approved $17.8 million in August of 2017. LendingTree got $8.4 million approved in December of 2018. And then Ernst & Young, which was another one there, got $3.2 million approved in 2018 in February.
Help us understand what they were approved for and what it means to the state budget and to taxpayers.
Right. These are job development investment grants, which are 12-year grants to support job creation. So basically the governor goes in the Commerce Department goes and recruits these companies to either expand or move to North Carolina with the promise of lots and lots of money. And if they meet job creation goals or whatever, then they can, Commerce and the governor can claim credit for the job creation, and these guys can claim a whole lot of money. The sum total at that table in the meeting was $91.5 million.
And so your conclusion was you weren't really shocked that those folks did say, hey, Governor Cooper, we would like a reduction in the corporate tax rate.
Right, yeah. If you've got nearly $100 million of corporate welfare being handed to you, you're probably not thinking we need a tax cut.
Jon, tell us about the accountability that one would hope is built into those grants, because you are talking about a sizable amount of money where essentially one business is chosen as somehow to be a winner in terms of finances over their competitors and other businesses in the state. So talk about accountability and this whole rationale of why we would even do this.
Well, the accountability, there is some built in, and there are clawback provisions. So if the promised job creation or investment doesn't take place, then they won't get some of the grant money that they've been promised. WRAL has done some reporting in recent years looking at these programs going back for the last 8 years. And they found that a sizable proportion, over a third of them, don't even create a single job. So that money doesn't end up accruing to those companies because of that. But on a larger scale, it is the governor picking winners and losers. It is saying, we value your jobs more than we value jobs from other companies, including companies that are established in North Carolina, small mom and pop shops, those that could actually use corporate tax rate cut. And the corporate tax cut that he's talking about, the one that was in the budget last year, is something called the franchise tax, which is sort of like a double tax on corporations. It's not the corporate income tax. It's a tax on corporate wealth. So whether or not the corporation is doing any good, they're still basically having to pay this tax. It's a very obsolete tax. Only about 14 other states, I think, have one. Maybe 16 other states have it. But very few states have this thing.
So, Jon, if I were a business executive and I'm out creating jobs, selling products and services, serving the community, trying to grow my business, and I find that there are a select few other businesses who are essentially getting the state to put the state's thumb on the financial scale in favor of my competitor, wouldn't I be squawking about that?
If they've got the time to. I mean, that's the other thing about an entrepreneur, especially a smaller shop owner, is they've got to take to business. They've got to attend to their own business concerns. They don't have time to be pulling on the governor's ear or going to the General Assembly and squawking. They've got things that they've got to do. What bothered me about this is And it's not as if these corporate executives that were getting the grants went to the governor and said, don't cut taxes. They just didn't mention taxes at all. The governor then turned around and used that sort of dog not barking in the night of them not mentioning tax increases or tax cuts, and then saying, oh, well, they're not saying it, so we obviously don't need it.
In fact, the implication seemed to be that the Republicans who had proposed trying to help businesses with some sort of tax reform were off the mark, because here were the very people sitting in the room and they didn't even bother to bring it up.
Right.
So, John, do other states do this kind of thing?
Well, and that's one of the other rationales that administrations use for these incentives is, well, if we don't do it, other states will. But economic research finds that they are very rarely the deciding factor in a corporation shifting headquarters or whatever. These things are business decisions. They're made for a host of reasons, very little bit of which would be access to state incentives.
You know, there might be some folks who think, well, you know, if you want to be pro-business and you want to make sure that North Carolina continues to thrive and that people want to create more jobs, open up businesses, et cetera, you got to do a little bit of this kind of wheeling and dealing. That may be the governor's view or his Commerce Department's view. What would you say to them if you had the governor right here talking with him?
I think what I would do is use what the governor said back in Small Business Week when he went out and touted what a great place North Carolina is for doing businesses. And one of the things that he put in his press release about what makes us great to do business is having the lowest corporate income tax rate among all the states that have corporate income tax rates. So when he's trying to persuade in a different way, he mentions the fact that we've got a low tax environment.
So what is it that actually spurs successful entrepreneurship and businesses to grow?
It's a host of things. It's natural things. It's government that's not getting in the way. It's so low regulations, low taxes, a skilled workforce, access to airports and good transportation options.
And you've described North Carolina in a lot of those ways, so many things, which, as you said, the governor has touted before. You know, it's very fascinating because you pointed out, John, that really not a lot of media, if any, picked up on this issue of what happened in that meeting, and the governor saying that, well, these business leaders didn't even bring up the issue of taxes. Again, I would say, how would you describe it to someone? What is the essence of what occurred there and the irony of it?
Well, the irony of it is pretending that these corporations that are getting all this money don't need anything else, don't need any more help from the state, and then acting as if they speak for all of the other businesses and corporations in the state.
Well, it's a fascinating piece that you wrote about this, available at johnlocke.org, and that discussion about taxes and business leaders and a meeting held with Governor Roy Cooper. Jon Sanders, thank you very much.
Thank you, Donna.